What part of your inner being is satisfied by a work of art? And why is this satisfaction something we all crave? Subjective as it all is, good art makes us feel more appropriate about ourselves, and bad art makes us feel inappropriate about ourselves. Looking at works from different time periods and different civilizations, you wonder where the strictly enforced values come from that these people rely on for propriety's sake. In medieval China, if you tried to paint landscapes in color rather than the trademark black and white, were you a social outcast? And in Japan, with their lovely two-dimensional paintings that emphasize flat planes of color and graphic quality that inspired the Western artist Vincent van Gogh, what happened if you tried, as an artist in feudal Japan, to give three-dimensional volume to a painted figure, like a Renaissance portrait? And why are African figurines distorted in their trademark manner? And was it illegal to paint them bright rainbow colors? Then there's the famous tribal masks, the main place where we see African painting. Why don't the pre-colonial Africans paint on flat panels or latter-day canvases, or create frescoes like the Europeans? Why does it feel inappropriate to even suggest this? Like I'm being rude somehow by saying this out loud. Something about our communal sense of propriety, and what is acceptable for public display. What rules does it follow? Why do values vary so much from culture to culture? When you make something yourself, you instinctively create according to what you need in order to feel appropriate about yourself. No one ever told you specifically to do it this way. It's just what you developed over the years in order to cope with a world that makes you feel so inappropriate about yourself. And hopefully whatever you create can help the rest of us with that very same struggle. Take a visit to the monastery and enjoy a lecture from Sandro Sebastian, the art monk. There are many people who will ask, how will I know when God is talking to me? The best answer I can give is, when you see things happen that are not supposed to be possible. That's how you know God is trying to reach you. Just don't ignore it. Or when you see a lot of things happen in a row that can't be a coincidence, yet this explains everything. Don't run away from it like most people do. It will answer questions you've always had, questions that no one else will be able to answer. You'll have deep down questions that other people won't know you have throughout your life. It takes time, young people, but the more you move away from your parents and meet other adults out there, the ones not legally required to care about your safety or development, the more you meet them, the more you see just how superficial and self-centered people can be, and how many of them have no idea who they are, and wonder why it's not making them feel better. People are rather pathetic. And also, God is the only one that can show you what to do. There are parts of your personality that you won't know what to do with. Parts of your existence that don't add up, and you'll need someone to fill in the blanks for you. And sometimes you'll want an answer so bad that you'll do what I did. You'll get on your knees and you'll pray to God and beg Him to take full control, no matter how unpleasant it becomes for me or how much I disagree. Have you ever made the following prayer? Got on your knees and said, "Just lock me in a room, Lord, and don't let me out of the room, no matter what I say or do, no matter how much I kick and scream, no matter how difficult it gets. And I beg you to let me out. Don't let me leave, please. No matter how much I complain, I'll figure it out. You know I will. Just don't let me give up, Lord." If you've never made that prayer, then you're not really living. God is the only one who can arrange this kind of situation for you, the only one who can push you into a room and lock the door behind you. This is what makes this relationship unique. No other relationships are like this in your life. No matter how much money someone might have, or whatever political power or connections, all of which can be useful, I'm not saying they're not, no one knows you better than God. And no one knows what kind of fears you need to face deep down in yourself. And the great thing about God, among many, is that he doesn't have a desperate need to be liked by anyone. He doesn't need the validation and isn't trying to get rich off of you. Nothing in it for him. God is the only one who loves you enough to tell you when you're wrong, even when it's the last thing you want to hear. Dumping him only hurts you. As I've described in other videos, all of this spiritual stuff is the side of life that is not covered by science or mathematics, yet must be dealt with anyway. As a person journeys through existence and is forced to make choices. So if science and math can't help me, what kind of logic do I use to decide just what is going on here? And what am I in all this? And above all, what is real and what is fake? Who speaks the truth and who speaks lies? When I was young, I thought I knew who were the good guys and who were the bad guys. But as I get older, it starts to get all mixed up, now doesn't it? But I have to make decisions either way, decisions I can't run away from. At that point, I have to turn to a kind of reasoning that is more of an abstract nature, imagining just what the human identity is and what is at stake with it. What is its poetic place in the universe? And what does it need in order to feel appropriate about itself? Is there a science for that? Is there some logical equation or formula that helps us study the way we see ourselves inside of our heads? And how do we compare it to the outside world and what the rest of us are getting out here, as opposed to the world inside of our heads? Do you follow? Well, if I might give yet another description of what I do for a living, I've decided there's no other way to describe the purpose and function of art in our lives, other than what you just heard. It has to come from somewhere, the art, and somewhere we can't see with our eyes. And something has to separate mediocrity from greatness. Some artists are more compelling, some not so much. Some last for one generation, some last multiple centuries. What makes the difference between the two? We can never know for sure, but maybe we attempt to answer the question with every piece we make. I like that. You might have an argument with the ignorant, self-absorbed type who doesn't know what the Louvre Museum is in Paris, France, or why it might be important to visit places like that, or at least study the kind of art and artifacts inside of such an institution. The stubborn individual might say, well, I'm not an artist or an art history person. It's not part of my occupation or even a hobby of mine, so why do I need to know about any of that stuff? You can if you want, Sandro, if it's what you do for a living, but I don't have any use for it. This kind of self-involved individual, of course, doesn't understand that the point of the arts and humanities is not about being an artist oneself, or cultural anthropologist of some sort, or historian. Even if this isn't your field, you are still a person living in a world full of people. And the exercise is about taking a look at the world around you and deciding what kind of place the world is, and what kind of people it is filled with. Learning the difference between intelligence and wisdom, the two of them not only not being the same thing, but being nowhere near each other. And as well educated as a person might be, there's no substitute for good old-fashioned awareness of the human condition, and why people behave the way that they do. This is an area in which you want to open your eyes as wide as possible, because you will not live a single day of your life where you don't have to make decisions about what kind of place human civilization is, and what kind of creature the human being is. It's not just about conducting yourself appropriately and not making the situation more difficult for yourself, but to also not be a nuisance to others, because you've wandered into a situation with your imagination pointing in the wrong direction. You think something is happening that's not happening. And you look like an escaped mental patient. And above all, for myself, I recommend developing your insight into the human identity so that you can protect yourself from those who seek to take advantage of you. When you're young, it is unthinkable to you that someone might have the nerve to lie directly to your face, and to lie about something that is not just a trifle. An unscrupulous individual may lie about something major in your life, or if not directly lie to you, at least manipulate your insecurities that they are able to perceive in you, and keep you insecure long enough so that you make a decision on blind impulse before your sense of logic kicks in. Like a salesperson putting pressure on you to buy a product because everyone else is doing it, and you won't be fashionable if you don't, even if your logical side speaks up the very moment after you've made the purchase, realizing that because of your lifestyle, or your profession, or where you plug into society, and what resources you do and do not have available, or because there may have been alternative products that you could have bought that performed the same function at a lower price, even if it cost you a little bit of convenience. All of this logic only happens after you've made your purchase and cannot get a refund. Salespeople, huh? There are some people that just understand that side of human nature, the part of us that is weak against social pressure. And don't ever think that people won't take advantage of your insecurities. That's the first thing people go after. Filling your head with works of art and literature, however, art and literature from around the world and across centuries, broadens your perspective and lets you see more deeply into the mind of a liar or manipulator, so you can try to see why this person thinks they have to do this. The reason that liars and manipulators catch you off guard, especially when you're young, is because you don't know why a person thinks they have to be this way. The best example I can give is the opposite gender, whoever that is for you. You know, that mysterious other group you share society with, the ones that haven't figured out that we can't read each other's minds. You know them. They think they have to trick one of you into being with one of them, or try to manipulate many of you at once, like it's some kind of game. And then there's the myth of sexual conquest as proof of some sort of prowess with the other group, like you are proving you are good at something by sleeping with large numbers of them. When a woman is young especially, she learns the hard way what a predator is by unfortunately falling victim to one herself. A man who maybe forced himself on her, or even lied and manipulated in order to get consent, only to hastily abandon her and move on to the next one, or perhaps was juggling her with multiple others all the while. This catches the young lady off guard because she doesn't understand why an adult man thinks that this is something he needs to even do. What does that achieve? What does this improve about your life? Or if you do it just for the excitement, what makes it exciting? The explanation would be, and I only tell women what I would tell my own daughter if I had one, the explanation is that the opposite gender cannot read your mind, and they don't know how you see yourselves inside of your heads. They don't know how to choose they don't know how you choose partners, or what human sexuality looks like from your group's perspective. So from his perspective, it looks like something different is happening. It looks like he has to do something that he doesn't have to do. This is a guy who's not that bright, remember. There's a certain kind of wisdom that appears to have faded from the world over the course of the 20th century. And that's to understand the difference between something that is immoral and obscene, and might be controversial for that reason, or something that is just plain not necessary. People think that a conservative individual might advise against sexual promiscuity because it goes against God, or I find it yucky, or I want everyone to be stiff and rigid all the time because I want to ruin your fun. You know, those religious types, they just want to ruin everybody's fun. That's not really it. The wisdom is in understanding not just that it is immoral, but it's something you don't need to do. That's not what people are. That's not how the other group feels about you. And that's not how they feel about sex. That's just what predators and whores want you to think. But all of this is not a physical science, not biology, and not chemistry, as referenced in slang terminology. You know what I mean. It's abstract, invisible, based on how we see ourselves inside of our heads. How do we practice that skill for self-defense? Someone like me provides tools for doing that. I'm just using this area of human behavior as an example because it's an area in which we are all vulnerable, which is why the crimes committed in this area are taken so seriously, as they should be. Whoa. It's an instinct we all have to make sure the human race doesn't go extinct. Therefore, it deserves to be respected and protected. In the name of Jesus, people. Yeesh. Now, the opposite side of this predatory male coin would be women that march into a room of adult men in some professional or political space and demand equal rights, because I don't feel like being a housewife. This behavior in its most extreme form can be just as devastating as a sexual predator who is an adult man. That's right, we're doing this now. Buckle up. The lecture is not about one gender being right or wrong over the other gender. It's about the value of examining humanity and deciding when you're dealing with an individual that is filling in the blanks with their own imagination, rather than using facts, and trying to manipulate a situation in a way that they don't know is not only immoral and inappropriate, but on the whole not necessary. A woman might think that men are getting some kind of free gift from society just for being adult men, some free money or social status, or some party that only men go to on their own and have a life of ease and comfort just because of their biological sex, and that men are withholding that free gift that we receive from society out of the reach of women, just out of spite to watch them suffer and be insecure. Mwahahahaha. This is the attitude that your little feisty feminist has when she walks into a room of adult men who are only here to function as their respective cog in the machine to work out the logistics of security and provision, which do not occur on their own, hence the need for men. Someone has to make it their life's mission to procure these things for other people so that our lives don't get harder. All of this doesn't pay for itself, and power dynamics between competing professional and political entities have to be negotiated. There's no one group that can just tell everyone else what to do, because everyone has the right to just get up and walk away from the table. And we don't all know each other, us men that is. We are not friends and we're not enemies. We're just the people that have to meet for enough hours in this space every week to make sure that civilization is not left exposed. So this little campaign to force women into this workplace so they can copy what it looks like on the surface with a group of random adult men that are not your father or grandfather, nor are they your uncles or brothers, nor are they the adult men that may have been hired to look after you when you were in school, teachers, mentors, or coaches if you played sports, and they are not your husband or even a suitor who is courting you. These men are none of those above categories. They are just random adult men from out there in the world somewhere. Men who have their own families and their own communities, who are counting on them to be here in this professional space to make sure we are not left exposed. That's all we are here for. And in a way, that's kind of what makes a husband special. He's the one man who's taking responsibility for you. That's what our lives are about, because that's what it takes. Someone's life being about this. They're not just having some party and excluding you ladies on purpose. That's not how the masculine groups see themselves inside of their heads. They're not women. That's why we have marriage. Fuck me. I don't take orders from someone's bratty little teenage daughter. Not everyone wants to die screaming. So you see, ladies, just like the sexual predator that you encounter, I'm not responsible for how you fill in the blanks with your imagination. Not only is what you are doing immoral and abusive, it's just not necessary. This is not something that you have to do. That's not what kind of place the world is. When you think something is happening that isn't happening, and storm in there with your attitude, ladies and gentlemen, not only will you look like an escaped mental patient, but someone is going to get hurt. Remember, even if the most predatory sexual crimes in the world are committed by adult men, it was a women's liberation idea to move birth control outside of marriage. That's the legislation that men look at with confusion, like, not only is that immoral and quite dismissive of the opposite gender's identity, hey, excuse you, it's just plain old not necessary, as in that's not something you need to do. Do we understand the difference? Not just immoral, abusive, and dangerous, and unwise, and short-sighted, that's just not what people are, and not what kind of place the world is. Studying the arts and the science of the human imagination is about giving yourself the tools to make better decisions about what's really going on here. You notice that when people are going out to be in public or going to be around people, we are self-conscious about little things that might cramp our style, like some spinach in our teeth, or a stain on your shirt, or maybe a leaf stuck in your hair. I wonder why people don't feel the same way about their general ignorance. Why don't people think of that as something that cramps their style? Like when you open your mouth to talk and express a general worldview or set of values that noticeably take a lot for granted or overlook obvious facts. You don't feel a bit of embarrassment? Not saying you have to be Aristotle here or be able to recite random trivia, but just the general impression you give about how life works in your head, how sophisticated your thinking is. There are some people that are like in their 40s, but when they talk, sound like they've only met like 500 people. Their frame of reference on human behavior is remarkably limited. Like maybe you're the kind of person that never read a book after finishing school. You graduated high school, and the moment that no one was legally requiring you to read anything, you didn't bother. So in your mind, you are a 40-year-old, 18-year-old. Why don't people take the time to expand their worldview and learn more about the world around them? The same way you check your reflection in the mirror, making sure there's no spinach in the teeth or a stain on the shirt before going to a social event. Let me explain how a magic act works. The magician controls what the audience sees and what the audience doesn't see, and we fill in the blanks with our imagination, making it look like something is happening that's not really happening. The fact that you know it's a trick is what makes it fun. The performer is cleverly concealing the method and fooling you. People don't think of the secular world as doing the same thing, like the news media, history books, or general cultural values we have. The people that control the information we get about the world around us, and what has happened throughout history, and what values are to be extolled and cherished, are not required to tell the truth about anything. Those influential forces, that is. They just tell us what they want us to hear, and omit the parts they need to in order to make it look like something is happening that's not really happening. counting on us to fill in the blanks with our imagination. And then we build our lifestyle choices based on principles in an imagined reality that was manufactured for us to keep us under control. After all, why would they not do that to us? Because people wouldn't dare have the nerve? Are you sure? Even the people in your personal life will do the same thing. Your surrounding society will also trick you into chasing after things that simply don't exist, telling you that it can fulfill you or fill a void inside of you. Keep in mind, this is a void that the world told you you had inside. It told you you were missing something, or tricked you into thinking that everybody else is having some sort of great time out there, and you are missing out. So you need to go out there and catch up, or you'll get left behind. But you do have the right to protect yourself from other people's mind games. There are ways of discovering what kind of place the world is on a poetic, abstract level. The non-physical side of existence, the side that deals with values and morals, and where our behavior comes from. You can protect yourself from the assumptions people make about what humanity is and what we ought to be doing here. Because no one knows for sure what people are, no one knows for sure what we ought to do here. But people make strange assumptions with their crazy imaginations. Some people think we should discriminate against people based on skin color. Like what you look like should determine how much access you have to the economy and resources and education and job opportunities, as though the rest of us don't have women and children too. Without giving my opinion on that issue myself, since that's not why we're here, I'll just say that that's not what people are. That's not what kind of place the world is. Not only is that immoral and abusive, it's just something you don't need to do. That's not what money is. That's not what social privilege is. You're just going to look like an asshole. Then there are some people that think that sexual intercourse is not related to traditional marriage between a man and a woman, or the marriage instinct, and doesn't even have to be between opposite gender people specifically. There are people who believe that when people are engaging in sexual activity, it is because they have a genuine fondness for one another, because they are in love. And we can't help who we fall in love with, whatever that phrase means. So therefore, we can't help who we have sex with, even if it's a member of the same sex as myself. So let's pass laws that liberate people sexually, because sex is whatever we say it is. Without giving my opinion on that issue myself, since that's not why we're here, I'll just say that that's not what people are. That's not what kind of place the world is. What you're doing is not just immoral, it's not even a little bit necessary. That's not something you need to do. The point I'm making, while promoting my profession, is that you have the right to build up your own imagination, which is where human society resides, by the way, in the imagination. You have the right to deepen the capacity of your own imagination in order to push back against someone else's as they try to hypnotize you. A study of the arts definitely helps you do that. Not everybody needs to be told what to think. Boys Bleed is a fantasy adventure short novel written and illustrated by Sandro Sebastian. It's about 30-something pages only, magazine thickness with illustrations laced in with text. The story is centered around an adolescent boy that has some trouble with a local street gang from a rival school, and trouble with the gang at his own school. In this community where role models are scarce, the young man has a chance encounter with a spirit from the past. Bottled up in an antique urn owned by the boy's foster mother, an ancient warrior enters into the kid's system and they begin to sync up internally. The boy sees the warrior's memories and begins to gain his physical abilities as well. All of a sudden, the young man's struggle against the neighborhood street toughs is not so bleak. They spend time outside in meditative trances, learning from each other. What follows is an account of what another kid witnessed when happening upon our hero one afternoon.
Me and Lorenzo, my buddy, are hanging at that street by the park. We're seeing people passing on bikes, jogging and everything, and we're not thinking we'll see anyone we know. But we see this kid that looks familiar. At least, I thought I seen him walking around here before. Me and Lorenzo saw him sitting there all cross-legged and meditating like some Buddhist monk. We cracked up a little. We were hanging at this park over there, north of Marin Street. The Caden High School kids go there and chill. At Caden High, we're always hearing about fights and rivalries between us and Junsi High. Lorenzo and me never took sides officially, I guess, but when you're a student at Caden, you stick up for the rep. It's just how it goes. But this kid we saw, sitting on the grass, all still and stiff like some statue, I think it was him. They said some kid whooped the ass of the Caden High gang leader. They're called the Leather Knuckles, and the leader, Westerner, is this kid that no one messes with. Don't know what makes Grass Meditation Boy over here so sure of himself. Maybe he's loyal to some Junsi High gang now. Must be crazy. He's gotta know what happens when you do that at Caden. Sitting about 20 feet away on the grass, the guy didn't see us or hear what we were saying, but I was saying, "Hey, that's that one kid." And Lorenzo says, "Who? Him? Do we know him?" I said, "Nah, we don't, but he's the kid that beat up Wesner." "I heard about that," Lorenzo said. "Somebody said he took the Leather Knuckles leader down to the pavement in like 2 seconds. Swung like lightning. Wonder if it's true." So I'm all, let's see if he's as bad as they say. And I suddenly eye some fist-sized concrete chunk in a pile. It's a little sidewalk construction zone with no one around but orange cones. I reach out and pick up the fist-sized rock. "Can you get his head?" "That'll wake him up," Lorenzo said. So then I arc my arm 1 time, 2 times, judge the distance, and heave this overhead lob. The rock flies in a perfect arc, with that unsuspected Nancy still sitting perfectly still, his back facing us. He ain't moving while the projectile barrels down toward him. Damn fool won't even see it coming. Lorenzo and I are silent and still. Rock gets closer, about to knock him one. Then, I don't know what the hell I saw for sure that day, but almost like a praying mantis strike. The kid who just moments before wasn't twitching a muscle while he was in that meditation mode or whatever, jerks his head sideways and the rock in full downward trajectory sails clean past his head. And listen here, not only did the guy dodge the rock like he saw it coming from behind, but extended his right hand and caught the thing before it hit the ground just in front of him. Bare hand. No pain. No flinch. Lorenzo and me are freaking out here. "The hell he just do?" Lorenzo said. "This freak got eyes in the back of his head or something," I say. And after that, with us frozen still, the kid turns to us and stares. He's still maybe 20 feet away and stands, gaze on us unbroken. We're not sure whether he's coming over or not. His face looked serious. But after maybe a 5-second stare down, he actually smiles. We are confused. He turns away from us and pulls his arm back, rock in hand, and launches that sucker across the pond in the park. Now, I'm not lying when I say it launched like a damn torpedo and skipped over the lake's far side and straight up lodged into a tree trunk. We heard the sound all the way from where we were. Bam! And that tree was hurting. We looked at the tree with the rock now permanently part of its trunk and looked back at the kid who we heard beat up Wesner. He's looking at his new handiwork from across the lake, splintered tree trunk, then rotates toward us and gives this friendly wave. We took off and never went back there.